G'day guys, how we doing? Out at Warren Conservation Park today. I think we're going to do something a little different from the orchids. Might have a quick look at the carnivorous plants that we've got here in the Adelaide Hills. It's July 23rd today, I think, late July anyway. And we've had some decent rain now. Everything's starting to spring back to life. So yeah, I think we'll have a look at the three main Drosera species, Sundews, that we've got here. So that would be Whitaker's Sundew, tall Sundew, and the climbing Sundew. I don't think we're going to see many orchids today, but you know, everything's at this stage currently. Anything interesting anyway. The Caledonia tentaculata just leaves up at the moment. Potentially we're going to see some of the carnivorous species, helmet orchids. There's slaties and veined helmet orchids here in the park. Potentially the Terrastylus nana will be up. I think we're too early for like purple cockatoo orchids and whatnot. But yeah, definitely should be some sundews around the place. As I say that, Whitaker's Sundew, lots of them. Probably the most prevalent one in the park. They form these rosettes on the ground, and you can see the flower buds there on top. And they form quite large colonies. Carpets almost in places. So that's the Drosera whitakeri. Yeah. Potentially we'll also see the pumpernickel sundew, although I think we're a little early for that. And I'm not sure if we're going to see any of them in flower. If you keep an eye on my YouTube shorts, I did post Drosera whitakeri in flower a few days ago. Yeah. So anyway, we've only just started the walk. Should be plenty to look at. As I say, there's no shortage of them. These guys grow all over the place. Not really an area of expertise for me, although they were my gateway initially into getting into orchids and stuff. I was curious about the sundews and the sticky pads and stuff, and then started finding orchids in most of the same places that you find the sundews, and so that led me into the orchids. Speaking of orchids, I'm pretty sure these are Terrastylus nana rosettes. Nothing in flower currently. Not that I can see anyway. But yeah, they also form big colonies. Alrighty, I'll walk for a bit. There's a good section after we go down the hill past the fork in the trail that has heaps of sundews, so I'll come back into you there. It is quite a nice day for winter as well. It's cold, but blue skies. Don't think it's going to rain. It's a little breezy, but aside from that, it's lovely. So I know I said this wasn't going to be an orchid video, but these are actually the first ones I've seen of these in flower this season. So we've got mosquito orchids down here, Acanthus pusillus. Yeah. Again, camera's probably not going to focus on these guys actually. Where are we? Here we go. Incredibly common little orchids. Not going to focus. And normally would flower a little earlier than this, in my experience. But yeah, first ones I've seen for the year of those flowering so far. Hopefully we'll see a few more. Get some actual photos of some as we move along. So we've just come past the fork in the trail down there, and this is the section I would expect to see oh, what do you call it? The pumpernickel sundew, along with others. I think we're probably a bit early for the pumpernickel ones, but we do have lots of these guys, which I'm hesitant to ID because they're very early in their stages of development here. Potentially Drosera gunnara, or Gunnara. Pronunciation is terrible with that. But they start with that little basil rosette. There is stacks of them here. They start with that little basil rosette and then fire up their stalk. From there, they, get 20-30 centimeters tall, something like that. Could also be like tall sundew or even climbing sundew. As I say, I'm not really a expert on Drosera species. I do know the pumpernickels stay very short, basically with that basil rosette, and then throw up a little orange flower. But yeah, those guys all seem to be pushing up a stalk with the little sticky pads on them, so not the pumpernickel sundew at the moment. We're going to keep moving anyway because I can't see any specimens that are taller than about 2 inches there. And as I say, it's hard, at least for me, to ID them at that stage. It's pretty easy to tell them apart once they get taller. They have different pad shapes and growth habits, but at that stage they all look pretty similar to me. Alright, we've only come a little bit further along from that way. Just heading past this rock face here on the trail. I was just keeping an eye out because, these things grow in all sorts of environments. And come across this guy here. I'm pretty sure this one is climbing sundew, which is Drosera planchini. Again, apologies for pronunciation. So these guys have like a scrambling habit. They'll like cling onto the stuff around them. They have like a round pad on the stalk. I'll see if I can get a close up with a good zoom. Shaky hands, sorry. It's probably about as good as I'm going to be able to do. Yeah, they have a round pad, green pad with the red little sticky feelers on them. And they get really long and kind of just scramble their way upwards. Normally found in like grasses and stuff. They're not going to go out in the open because they want the support of the plants around them. Yeah, it's the first one I've seen in an advanced stage of growth so far. Just trying to see if it does actually have a basil rosette, which it doesn't. Not that I can see anyway. You can see it kind of just pops into existence there with no pads down on the dirt. Yeah, so that's cool. That's the first one we've seen up. So we'll say that's the third species we've seen so far. I think climbing sundews get a pink flower on top, like a pale pink. All the forms of the flowers are pretty similar. The colours vary a little bit. So Drosera whitakeri has a white flower, or numerous white flowers on top. Drosera planchini has the pink flower, I believe. Drosera auriculata, which is the tall or shield sundew, has the white flower on top. And yeah, pumpernickel sundew has just the orange flower on top. Alright. Carrying on. I'll correct myself later in the video if I got those colours wrong. I'm not sure that we're actually going to see any in flower out here today. I've only seen buds on top of the plants so far, and only on the Whitaker, so see how we go. Maybe when we get into some of the slightly different environments down in the valley or up on the ridge, going up to the fire tower, we might see something different. So this spot here is as good as any to just have a look at like some colour variation in Drosera whitakeri. They can vary a lot from like green and yellows through to reds and oranges. I don't know too much about it myself, except that they're a wide variety of colours. And yeah, I mean, it could be genetic, could be like environmental, light conditions, all that sort of stuff. I don't really know. But yeah, we're just going to have a look at the little patch here, which is exhibiting quite a number of different colours. So yeah, we'll start down here. This is like a good example of like a green, pale, sort of standard like colour variant of these guys. Still got the reds on the little sticky feelers. I'm certain there's a correct name for the feelers, but I don't know it. I say, not an expert. We'll move up here, which has, so this guy still mostly green, but you can see it's also got the reds and stuff in it. It's another good example here of quite a colourful one, green and red. If we zoom back out a bit, got an example of almost a full red one here. Doesn't have much green in it at all, that one. And literally like next to it in the same area, you've got like more green ones there. This little clump here, which is, you know, I'll try and get out of the light. There's a whole range of various colours in that. But you know that these are all, you know, within 18 inches of each other. So got more red ones over here. Red ones, another red one, another green one, and another little pile of colourful ones. So lots of variability in this species. And apparently Drosera aberrans, which is a very similar looking plant, and I think we get it here too, which is the scented sundew. Also the same, you know, very variable in its colour. Yeah, just a cool little feature of them, I guess. As I say, doesn't seem to be solely due to any one thing. You can get red ones in the sun and you can get green ones in the sun as well. So, who knows? Well, I'm sure someone knows, but I don't. Just working our way down the hill now. Still haven't seen too many of the like upright varieties. I'm hoping once we go through the valley, maybe come up the damper side of the gully, maybe we'll see some more. And of course, as soon as I say that and put the camera down, take 2 steps, we find some climbing sundews. So you can see the scrambling habit here. They don't really have a like robust enough main stem to support all the pads. So they just kind of scramble their way up through the undergrowth. These guys are also super common, although perhaps a little later flowering than Whitaker's sundew. Got another one here which does have a basal rosette. This guy here, so he's got a very, very small basal rosette on it. And I noticed a whole bunch here, although I think these are Drosera whitakeri. Yeah. So when I say these guys are common, I mean it. They literally carpet the ground in places. Certainly not hard to find. I think in a month or two's time I might go down south as well, if anyone's interested in this carnivorous plants video, and maybe we'll have a look at the pygmy Drosera from down there. I've seen them before. It's probably actually a little closer to home to go look at them than this is for me. But they're a cool one. They're red and they're tiny. They form little mounds. I've never actually seen them in flower, so maybe I'll wait until their actual flowering season and go have a look at them. There's also stylidium species in the park here, which I don't think are like genuinely carnivorous plants to the best of my knowledge. They're like a proto-carnivorous plant. They exhibit like some of these same features that Drosera do with the little sticky feelers, just in a much smaller sort of form. So you can see there you got Drosera, and I'm pretty sure that's Acanthus leaves, all in the same spot. Got a climbing one there as well. So we zoom out a little bit. Drosera whitakeri, Drosera planchini, Acanthus pusillus, I think. All in the same frame. It's pretty cool. Another one there which is just kind of starting to shoot. Alright, enough waffling on. We'll keep moving. See if we can find a new one to look at. Even more advanced climbing sundew here. Lovely colours. They're really striking with the red feelers standing out against the green stems. Really dense one in here. This could be like 3 plants, I think. Whoops, sorry, I'm still zoomed. My bad. Just a plethora of pads. Alrighty, carrying on. We want to try and find some tall sundews next. Just in passing through here, still heaps of the climbing sundews all over the place. It's like perfect habitat here for them in this like dense heath scrub. I think it's heath anyway, this spiky plant here. Low growing sort of thing. Got some greenhood leaves, rosettes, so they're not flowering yet. Not far off. Couple of rosettes there. Not seeing a lot of orchids, a lot of Acanthus leaves, but that's about it for the most part. Oh, plenty of Calodania leaves too, but they're still so far off flowering that it's not worth thinking about them just yet. It is good to see after how dry it's been, I guess, but still a couple of months away from seeing those flowers. So you can see the climbing sundews also get some variation in their pads. Like the green isn't always green. It's going to be hard to tell here because of the way the light is, but backs of the pads on this one are quite red. So yeah, seems to be a bit of a common theme in Droseras, that they're quite variable in colour. So it is looking like a little bit like we may have jumped the gun on the tall Drosera a little bit, of the tall sundew. I haven't seen any with pads open yet. Pretty sure this is one here. You can see it's a much more robust main stem than the climbing Drosera, the Drosera planchini. So this one I think is Drosera auriculata. But yeah, it's kind of, this is the most advanced I've seen them up through this section here, which is where I was hoping to find them for the most part. There's another one here. But yeah, they're just only just starting to reach skyward at the moment. So probably a little bit early for those guys. I haven't seen any of the Corybas orchids yet. Seeing heaps and heaps of greenhood or Pterostylus rosettes. So I mean, it's looking like a decent season for them. Which is a little surprising. I mean, here at least in this park, it's looking like a pretty good season for almost everything. I'm seeing lots and lots of orchid leaves of all different varieties. And that's a good thing, you know. It's been a tough summer. Been saying that in all my videos for the last little bit. It's been hot, it's been dry. Yeah, but it looks like the orchids here at least in this park are going to bounce back. I normally see the Corybas orchids here on the big areas of the plate moss, which I'm not seeing heaps of through here. There are some, but it normally grows in these big thick walls, and then the Corybas grows in that. Plenty of moss here. It's just not what I'm hoping, or not what I'm looking for the Corybas orchids. So we'll see. Still working my way up the hill from the gully here. This is like the south facing exposure of the gully, so it's wetter, it's cooler, far more shaded. So this is the plate moss I'm talking about, this stuff here. I don't know its scientific name, but nearly always find the Corybas orchids in it when you find lots of it. And it's the same at like Native Avenue back near home. When you find big swathes of that, you find the Corybas orchids. So anyway, I'll come back in if I find some, because you don't need to listen to me breathing. So the tall sundew is still eluding us, but that's alright. I'm kind of losing hope of actually seeing it today. That's the way things go. We're up on the ridgeline now, and still seeing plenty of Drosera whitakeri and the climbing sundew. Yeah, they're all over the place. Just taking some photos that I can hopefully use as a thumbnail. Right in on this guy, you can see all the little sticky pads there, and all the little feelers that close in on the insects. Sorry, my phone doesn't like focusing in video mode, but you get the idea. Drosera whitakeri, it's a nice one, green with the red edges. Not quite halfway around the loop. Sort of getting to the area where there's not going to be a lot of filming. There hasn't really been a lot of filming coming up the ridgeline either, honestly. But yeah, we'll kind of work our way along up to the fire tower, and then it's in paddocks and stuff for a bit. So certainly jump back in though if I do see anything of interest. I'm still seeing a lot of orchid leaves. No, well, very few orchid flowers yet. a few of the mosquito orchids that have been tucked right in under the heath. Hard to get a photo of them, but anyway, you know the drill. Keep walking, bring you back in if I see something. Alright, hopefully I remember to add this in the editing process. I walked straight past this guy on the way in. One of the few orchids that seems to be actually flowering at the moment, and I don't see heaps of them here in Warren Conservation Park, not while they're flowering anyway. See a few like husks later in the season, but it's Pterostylis sanguinea, the red-banded green hood. Just going to flip around, go down for a closer look. I walked straight past these guys on the way in, so you got one down here that's not quite open yet, but we do have this guy here who's in full flower. Not sure how I missed him. It's not one, as I say, it's not one I normally look for here in the park. Very common at like Macclesfield Quarry. Yeah, very common at Macclesfield Quarry and like a bit closer to Mount Barker in the hills. I mean, they're pretty widespread on the whole. But yeah, that's cool. Just happened to notice it as I was walking past. I'm only a kilometre from the car now, so almost out. But yeah, as I say, already filmed the outro. Hopefully I remember to edit this in. Alrighty then, I reckon we're going to call it there for this video. I don't think we're going to see any more of the species I hope to see. Seems like just the climbing sundew and Whitaker's sundew are the ones that are out in flower at the moment. Not even in flower, you know, just out with their pads currently. I'll have a look in the coming weeks. I might try a little closer to home. We'll try like Porter Scrub, Native Avenue, Clarendon, not Clarendon, Charleston Conservation Park. For the other couple of species that I hope to see, and then I'll try get down south to Bullock Hill for like the pygmy sundew and stuff, and maybe later in the year I'll try Mount Billy for the Utricularia. I've never actually seen those in person flowering or anything, so maybe I'll try and track those down this year. We'll see. Something a bit different from the orchids anyway. Any case, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Hurry.